My name is Luc Bagadouste. I'm the studio executive producer here at Downtown Montreal and on Lost Records Bloom and Rage.
Hi, so my name is Michel Cor. I'm the studio creative director at Downtown Montreal and the game director for Lost Records Bloom and Rage.
Hi there, I'm Frederick Forney-Jennings, and I'm the managing director at Downtown Montreal.
Going into today, we're learning more about Lost Records Bloom and Rage, but up to this point, there's very little that we've known about the game. We basically had what we had with the reveal trailer at the Game Awards. So how would you describe this game? What type of game are players getting into?
So Lost Records Bloom and Rage, it's an adventure, narrative adventure games that share a lot of DNA with the games we did before, like Life is Strange 1, Life is Strange 2, or Tell Me Why. And what's different with this game is that it's a game where you will be playing the main character, Swann Holloway, that you just saw in the small trailer we showed you. You will be playing her into two different timelines of her life. You will be playing her nowadays in 2022 when she's 43, and she's attending a reunion evening with some former teenage friends that she has not seen for 27 years. Because they made a promise to never speak to each other again. And something happened that you will discover during the game. Something happened that brought them together and that they have to break this promise. And as you reconnect with them, you will go and play memories from your teenagehood during the summer of 1995, the time where you bonded with those friends, where you lived magical adventures with them, and where something dark happened that forced you to promise to never speak to each other again and to just not talk to each other until today in 2022. And by alternating those two timelines, you will make choice both in the present timeline and the past timeline, where you will make dialogue choices, interaction choices, just also with the basics adventure games mechanism. And all those choices will rewrite the story of who was Swann, what happened during the summer of 1995, what exactly pushed them to make this promise, and why are they reconnecting today. So as you play the game, you will basically rewrite this story and uncover this mystery of what really happened.
And Swann is not alone on this journey. What can you tell me about her friends? What can you tell me about Nora, Autumn, and Kat?
So you'll be playing as Swann. She's the main character, and we really wanted you to. We hesitated a lot at the beginning if we should be only playing Swann or play all the characters at different turns. We really thought that we could write a better story and make you care more about the characters by having only one point of view, where you can really create your relationship with each of the others, decide who you like the most, who you agree with, who you disagree with. We felt that it would create a more focused experience by really putting you in the shoes of one and learning about the three others within just this point of view. So we'll be playing as Swann. She's a quirky, lonely teenager that really enjoys spending a lot of her time by just walking in the woods, filming wildlife with her camcorder. As you saw in the small video we showed you, the camcorder will play a huge part of the gameplay and the storytelling. As Swann, so you don't have a lot of friends, but she's okay with that. She really likes to be by herself. And one day during the summer of 1995, as you come home after a typical day in the woods from your summer, there is something that happens that will make her meet those three girls that will help her with something, and they will immediately develop some kind of very strong friendship, almost friendship at first sight. So you will be discovering Nora, Autumn, and Kat. I don't want to talk too much about exactly who they are, because there is a lot of things that I'd love for you as a player to really make your own opinion about them when you play the game. But just from the exterior look, Nora, she's very loud. She takes a lot of space. She's the goth girl that talk a lot, laugh a lot, and just is always a bit loud. Autumn, she's much more chill. She's a skater girl that is much more calm, but she's very sure about what she wants. So she's kind of the leader of the group in a way. And there is Kat, which is the latest one, the girl that nobody knew before, that is the newcomer in the town in a way. And she's the shortest. She's feels like the youngest of the group, but in the end, you will discover that she has a very, very strong attitude, and she's kind of the more opinionated and strong and fierce of the group. What the game is about will be to really forge your relationship with them. Who will you follow, who will you trust more than the others. We really want you to focus about finding your own place within this group of friends and decide how you want to interact with them. If you want, for example, something that I think is really important when you're part of a group is sometimes we are getting pushed to do things we wouldn't do by yourself. And we want to try to make you feel that also in this game, like how the group mechanism and sometimes even peer pressure is making you react.
Now, what made you want to travel to the mid '90s for the start of this story? Because this is kind of one of the first games that you've done where like the time period itself is kind of a big component of the story. So what made you want to choose this specific time period?
I think because we are getting older and and we grew up during the mid '90s. Just more seriously, I think that nostalgia is a very important part of a lot of the games we worked on before. There was this kind of nostalgic feeling in the first Life is Strange with Max coming back to her hometown and having lost her friends from before, rediscovering friends. This is something that, an emotion that I think is really strong. Nostalgia is something that maybe not everybody is experiencing nostalgia, but I think it's still kind of universal. There is always a moment in our life where we reflect on our past and we think, oh, I would maybe love to live again this part of my life, or you maybe have some good memories or bad memories with some of your past. And yeah, I think that both Luc, myself, Jean-Luc, the writer, so we are still working with Jean-Luc Cano, the writer of the first and Life is Strange 1 and 2. Yeah, we have very fond memories of our teenagehood in the mid 90s. And we were thinking like, yeah, it could be interesting to go back to this timeline, to talk about how things were before at this moment in the mid 90s. But we really also wanted to focus on the adult today. And that's why you will be playing in both timeline and also be playing a character who is 43 years old today. And she's remembering her teenagehood when she was 16 in 1995. I think that, for example, we loved looking at Stranger Things and how they use the 80s as something that was not a documentary, but an idealized version of the 80s in Stranger Things. And that's kind of the same thing we are doing in Lost Records Bloom and Rage with the 90s. Like, it's not a documentary about the 90s. We are putting a lot of our own memories, but we really want those to look like kind of idealized, so that even younger generations who have no idea of what exactly were the 90s, they will maybe get some kind of fantasy by looking at it, by projecting of, oh, those weird colors and those weird items that I don't know what it is. What is the purpose?
You mentioned Max going back to her hometown in Life is Strange, and that's something that I've noticed that a lot of your games have in common, is this idea of returning home, whether it's in Life is Strange or Tell Me Why. So how do you go about establishing setting for the Lost Records? And why is it so important to establish this town almost as a character in itself?
An interesting point with your question is like, even if the setting is really important, for Lost Records Bloom and Rage, we don't want the town to be as much as a character as it was in Life is Strange, because we're already 4 characters in this game. We have Swann, Nora, Oline, and Kat, and we really want you to focus on the group being almost your beacon, your home, because the group itself is the anchor of this game, those 4 characters. So we decided to very slightly, and it was a will we had to make sure that the town, even if it feels nostalgic, and you will discover locations that feels very nostalgic, like the rental video store, some part in the forest, some overlook the beach. But we really wanted to kind of disconnect them from a real map of a town, to really focus on those locations as memories for your adventures with the girls. The game uses a structure of alternating between the present and the past, so we can really remove what's not necessary and focus on the important scene. So you have a moment where you're playing in the present time, discussing with your friends, and as you would in real life when you meet friends, you remember when back this day we did that. And that's where we are directly shifting you to the past, and you're playing this memory, but you won't be playing how you went there, what was driving, or you will directly be in the moment that matter with your friends in this location. So we are kind of removing part of the navigating the town to focus on, I would say, navigating your nostalgic memories of what was the summer with your friends. Coming back home is something that we love to do because it creates this kind of attachment to something. But here, coming back home is really linked to coming back home with your friends.
You know, Michelle, one thing you've always made sure to tell me, going back to when we first met in the lead up to Life is Strange, you always told me that you're not telling a tale of the supernatural. Life is Strange was a coming of age tale and a story of friendship that just so happened to have supernatural elements in it. So would you describe Lost Records in a similar way? Because it looks like there's something ominous that's bringing these characters back together, but it looks like it's primarily a story of friendship and memories.
I think that's the way we love to work stories with Jean-Luc and the team, and also the new writers who joined us working on this game are writers who loved what we did on Life is Strange. And I guess that we have this common love for using the supernatural elements more as a catalyst or something that increase the stakes for characters and make the story more interesting rather than making the story about the supernatural itself. So yeah, it's really kind of the same. We are using this mystery of what really happened at the end of the summer of 95. Why are they back together today in 2022? Those are questions that are really important and will still be answered through the game. But they are really here to bring them together and tell the story of those characters, of who they were back then, who they are today, how they changed, how life can change you, how 27 years later, are you still friend if you didn't see someone for that long? Are you very different? We are using all those supernatural elements and those mystery as a way to tell this story about those characters, you're right.
I would love to hear more about the studio itself. I mean, this was a big move for all of you because you started off in France and now you're comfortably settled into French Canada. And it was a big life change, a big career change, and also something that happened during the tumultuous period of the pandemic.
Yes.
So what were some of the biggest challenges in settling into Montreal and finding the personnel to get this project started in the wake of everything that was happening around you?
Misha and I, we've been working for a long time together. First on Remember Me, the first project of the studio. Then we worked together on the first Life is Strange, Captain Spirit, Life is Strange 2. And we started to see a path, working on these narrative games. Some things we learned how to do, we wanted to continue doing. And there was always this interest for Montreal, for North America. First, like in the games creatively, I know that Michel, it is our game, like the two Life is Strange game, takes place in North America, so it was somehow a way to get closer to this audience and to the country itself. But we've been traveling to Canada, to Montreal several times, and we really enjoyed Frederick will talk maybe more about this, but how great the video game industry is here. You have a lot of very small studio, a lot of indie, like the indie scene is amazing, but also major studios with a lot of knowledge, and everyone has talented people. When you arrive here as a developer, you talk to a lot of other developers. Like the goal is to create a better industry for everyone rather than just competition. We really loved our trips here, and this is something that had been in discussion with Oscar, the CEO, and Paris HQ for a while. So after Life is Strange 2, it was the right moment for us. We kind of wanted to kickstart something new, with what we learned, what were our intentions, whether it's creatively, production-wise, studio-wise. That's why we have this collaboration between Frédéric, Michel, and I regarding what the studio and its first project should be and will be. And this team, and like you said, the challenges were huge. Like we had been pessimistic a little bit in the planning, but of course we didn't anticipate the pandemic, the complexity, like the impact it had on everyone. It was really intense, and I'm amazed to see that we managed to do something during this period. We started remotely. We learned to work, remotely. Michel was in France for the first few months. Frederic joined us really early here in Montreal, and we had to build this studio in this new world, with rules that were different. And I think, yeah, the challenge was huge, but the team we've hired is amazing. Like Michel mentioned earlier, we managed to bring some people from the Life is Strange team. Like Baptiste, our lead designer, who was the lead designer on the first Life is Strange. Juliette, our lead character artist, who also worked on the previous game. we had all these people from the core team, but also new people that joined us because they knew what was Dontnod, what were our games. So they wanted to work on something similar. And that's the luck we had to be somehow different on the Montreal stage. And before I'm saying too much, I will leave some room for Frederic as well. I wanted to add just a personal thing. Michel mentioned the fact that our main character, Swann, is somehow a positive introvert, or I don't know if you said that, or...
She's a loner, but yeah, definitely. We want to portray her as a positive introvert, yeah.
Yeah, I think somehow working during the pandemic and, with people remotely, a different set of rules brings new perspective on things. And I think we learn a lot on how we should work at the studio with these new conditions, people working remotely, how to make sure everyone feels welcome and empowered in the studio despite these conditions. So yeah, I think it was really important for us to make sure that this new studio is built to last and will allow us to create these new games in the franchise.
I'm in agreement with everything you said. I think that it was obviously, so you mentioned Montreal, there are like more than 200 studios in video game studios in Montreal. So it's a magnificent and very challenging cauldron as well, because there are plenty of talents and coming from very different studios, very different genres of games as well. As Luc mentioned, there are not that many studios that are doing the narrative games like we do. So I think that was really an opportunity to also offer something different to the talent pool here in Montreal. And of course, creating a studio from scratch is an amazing opportunity, very challenging from start, even without the pandemic. I think that it's what was challenging and still challenging is that at the same time you build the studio and you build the game, so you need to get these two things working nicely concurrently, and at the same time, when you have this once in a lifetime opportunity, you really want to think right on how you're going to do things. Luc said it, pandemics really asked us to be creative with the way we would onboard our people, organize the studio itself. Are we going flex? Are we going hybrid? How do we do that? So there were many questions, new questions that we never really thought before every day on our desk. So that was amazingly challenging, but also that was pushing us a lot to think out of the box. On the top of everything, I added a little bit of an extra challenge on that. I really wanted to have a studio where parity, we do have parity between men and women, and I wanted women in a leadership position on the game, which we do have. We are able to maintain around 44%, between 44-47% of parity. And it's difficult because it's obviously asks you to have some sort of it's kind of a luxury, right? Because you slow down your process. You don't hire people because they are women or they are men. You hire people because they are good talent. But when you want to find these good talents, being making sure that you have this parity, well, it slows down the process, and it adds an extra, I would say, challenge on the thing. But we've been good. So we've been also very lucky to have the support of the HQ and Oscar, our CEO. So that was a huge learning curve for Dontnod as a group as well, because opening a subsidiary is something that brings new ways to operate as well. So there was that's a crazy journey, but that's amazing for sure. A lot of learnings.
Lost Records Bloom and Rage. This is still a game that's targeted for late 2024?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.